What does happiness look like to you? In this video, I'll be sharing practical tips on how to significantly improve your happiness, according to decades of psychological research. My name's Jeff, and my goal is to make psychology make sense. Stick around. If I asked you what it meant to be successful, what would you say? Many of us are endlessly prodded by society to figure out our why and understand the exact reasons we were put on this planet. People surrounding us continuously stress that we need to be successful, and only then will we find happiness. Growing up, I was no exception to this and was also a victim of trying to represent society's perception of being successful. That meant I would have to go to the best schools, get the best grades, and get the highest paying jobs to make it in life. In doing these things, I would then be considered successful in society's standards, which would then allegedly make me happy. This could not be further from the truth. When we turn on the news, it's almost always about the terrible things that are happening in the world. When we go to social media, we see an army of people pointing fingers and blaming others for ruining the planet. Our subconscious mind constantly records all of this and paints a horribly inaccurate picture for the ratio of negative to positive in the world. The overall damage this can do is pretty lasting, and it'll completely change the way you live your life. But are we doomed to be stuck in this status quo forever? Psychology would argue that we are not. We all have a set zone of happiness that's hardwired into our brains. We have a certain threshold that we tend to sit within depending on how events unfold for us. If something good happens, we increase in happiness for a bit, then return to our set zone. If something bad happens, we tend to become unhappy for a bit and then go right back to our default set zone of happiness. With all of the societal forces I previously discussed working against you, it might be reasonable to think that this would be impossible to change, right? Impossible to change this hardwired set zone of happiness you were just given at birth. There's actually a scientific discipline for this called positive psychology. Positive psychology is the scientific study of understanding fulfillment and happiness in life. Although it used to be an obscure field, there's been significant robust findings and improvements in the past few decades. These findings can change your life and help you find true happiness in the world around you. I've actively taken research into my own hands and applied various principles of positive psychology to actually improve my set zone of happiness. This has also helped to rewire my brain to see the world through a more positive lens. In doing so, I've seen some pretty cool benefits in the long run. The famous positive psychologist Shawn Achor conducted research that found that only 10% of our long-term happiness can be predicted by external factors, and that 90% of our long-term happiness can be predicted by the ways in which we look at the world. In finding your happiness and shifting the lens in which you see the world, you'll open new doors that will help you discover a deeper sense of purpose. I would argue that most people's purpose in life is to just simply be happy. Someone may have a different version of what happy looks like to them, but it's still the same resulting emotion. So how do we take a step back from the world and rid ourselves of these ridiculous fears we have about finding purpose and happiness in life? It may not be as complicated as you think. Let me break it down into daily, actionable steps that you can use to change your life. Step 1 is to start a gratitude journal. Go to your local office supply store and purchase a cheap composition notebook. Every single day, the first thing you do when you wake up and before you go to bed would be to open up your journal. Write down 1 to 3 things that you're genuinely thankful for. It could be as simple as your bed or a meal that you had earlier that day, or it could be super in-depth on a story or some inspiring thing you experienced recently. Journaling and documenting things that make you feel happiness and gratitude first thing in the morning will prime your brain to think in positive ways for the entire day. And by doing this before you go to bed, it'll help unclear your mind. This will create patternistic ways of thinking over time. This will literally shift internal cognitive habits. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how many things end up in your journal by the end of the month. Step 2 is to practice mindfulness. Ask yourself this: is my mind full, or am I mindful? Am I present when I'm with friends? Am I always distracted with social media or technology and thinking about work? A great way to practice mindfulness is by using breathing techniques or meditation techniques. I like to do this right after I wake up and sometimes before bed. After I write in my journal, I meditate and reflect on the things I'm grateful for. I practice different breathing techniques and meditative practices. A great place to start with meditation is just going on YouTube and typing in guided meditations. What this does over time is it helps your brain focus on the task at hand, and it helps you become a more grateful person in that present moment. It sharpens your awareness and attentiveness, and it helps you get rid of the cultural ADHD that society continuously gives us. Step 3 is to perform random acts of kindness. Every day, find something that you can do to help make someone else's day better. One of the best ways to feel fulfillment and happiness is to give it to somebody else. If you could give back and change someone's day for the better, how could you not feel good? Write a thank you letter for a gift. Send a sweet text message thanking someone for being a good friend. Tell a server at a restaurant that they did a really nice job and they deserve a good tip for cheering you up. Pay for someone else's coffee. Anything. These little acts of kindness continue to rewire your brain and create habitual, primed feelings of positivity and trust with the world around you. Step 4 is to exercise. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to go run marathons, but you do need to exercise and get your body moving. Get up, get out, get motivated, get healthy, eat better, and build your resilience. Exercising will literally teach your brain that your behaviors matter. The feel-good chemicals that flood our brains when we work out are the very same chemicals that release in our brains when we have feelings of love. They simply feel good. They pump us up. They get us excited. Dopamine floods our brains when we're happy. It engages the learning centers of our brain, enabling better performance, creativity, and logical thinking. Make sure you get plenty of rest here with good quality sleep. It'll help reinvigorate your body and mind. Also, try to exercise outside in the sun if you can. This will help you get more vitamin D. This can be a huge factor in improving your day-to-day happiness. I also want to touch on the professional benefits of this as well, because I'm in the field of business psychology. If people working in a company are happy, the benefits will pay off more than you could ever hope. How would it make business and life better? If employees are happier, they're more creative and engaged. If employees are more creative and engaged, they'll perform better. If they perform better, the company makes more money. 75% of job successes are predicted by optimism levels, social support, and the ability to see stress as a challenge instead of a threat. It's a win-win for everyone. A group of researchers from Gallup conducted a study involving 152 organizations and listed several benefits of positive psychology in the workplace. Businesses with high engagement and happiness in employees had 25% lower turnover, 18% average increase in productivity, 49% lower safety incidents, 37% lower absenteeism, 16% increase in profitability, and a 60% increase in overall company quality. I mean, come on. Invest in your people. These are countless case studies and examples of the power and influence of positive psychology at work. This does so much more than just help you feel good. I urge you to delve deeper and explore this for yourself, especially if you're a business leader. I do want to touch super quickly on toxic positivity because I think this part is crucial. We have to be very careful not to cross over into the line of delusion or toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is the belief that no matter how bad things get, we always have to maintain a positive mindset. We have to always be the happy hero and push good vibes onto others. This is a great way to piss people off and have them not want to be around you. It's also a great way to mislead yourself into improper ways of thinking. It's shaming, causes guilt, avoids authentic human emotion, and can hold you back in your growth. I'll be making a full video on toxic positivity soon, so be sure to keep an eye out for that one. Just know that life is extremely difficult sometimes and things will get bad. Horrible things will happen to people and we have to work through those emotions. Just as we can feel happiness, we need to fully and deeply experience other emotions as well. Positive psychology is about improving the ways in which we look at the world and solve our problems while still maintaining healthy relationships with other emotions like anger or sadness. Things don't always have to be the best, but we can always make the best out of the things that happen. Thank you for giving me time to share with you one of my many passions. I hope that this material has opened your mind to a new perspective that you may or may not have previously explored in life. Practice journaling, meditating, exercising, eating right, sleeping, getting outside, helping others, and strengthening your self-awareness. Some research suggests that these things can rewire your brain for positive thinking in around 21 days. And the more recent research suggests that this can take around 8 to 12 weeks if daily action is taken. Once you learn this stuff for yourself, pass it on to somebody else and they can pass it on to someone else. Positivity will spread exponentially. A huge part of our happiness is having healthy and fulfilling relationships. If you want to avoid an unhealthy relationship, be sure to check out my last video on how to avoid harmful relationships like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's. So for all things psychology to help you think, feel, and perform better, stay tuned right here on Psychology of Living.